we have some super cool news about the new pointy ears. Let's just dive right into it. Games Workshop has posted a bunch of information for us, so we're going to dive right into all the new stuff that we know about the new detachments that are coming out. They are looking spicy. There's going to be some really cool combinations and there's some sweet little teasers that we're getting out of this article too. So we're just going to read through this. I'm going to give you some thoughts and what we can expect to see from the upcoming Eldar Codex release, which is really not too far from now. All right, so they say excitement is rising as Codex Eldari is just days away, blah, blah, blah. Here's a few detachments to read. Like they said, they are going to have actually 8 new detachments, which is kind of crazy that there are going to be 8 detachments in this. There is going to be the Index, which is the battle host, but that is going to be significantly changed, and it is now going to be called the War Host Detachment. They said it has been changed, keeping in mind with the new army rule, not having fate dice. I assume they're going to change some of the abilities as well, too. Just work with the new points cost, or all the new points costs are going to be changed to work with the new rules. Either way, I expect to see some new, good, cool stuff coming out there. Alongside the War Host Detachment, which is going to be reflective of the current Battle Host Detachment, we are going to have the Wind Rider Host, which I assume is going to be speed, jet bikes, shining spears, crimson hunters, things like that. The Guardian Battle Host, which is probably going to be encouraging you to run, I would assume, your warlocks and your defenders. The Spirit Conclave, which sounds like it's going to be focused on your Wraith Guard and your Wraith Blades, all that stuff. The Seer Council, which will be Farseers, warlocks, stuff like that. And the Aspect Host, which sounds like it's going to be a bunch of Aspect Warriors, each of which focus on one of the key elements of the Eldari roster, while the Ghost of the Webway and the Devoted of Nead let you build your army around the Harlequins and the Inari, respectively. So the Harlequins are going to get a dedicated detachment, which is good because they should have one, and Inari will have a dedicated detachment as well. Sounds good. This is just saying that people like the Aspect Host at Path of the Warrior. So this is a detachment rule. This is going to be the detachment rule for the Aspect Host, and the detachment rule's name is the Path of the Warrior. This is a pretty darn cool rule that's going to allow you to buff a lot of your elite infantry in unique and interesting ways. So each time an Aspect Warriors or Avatar of Cain unit, so this detachment already tells you want Avatars, you want Aspect Warriors. Done. From your army is selected to shoot or fight, select one of the following abilities for it to gain until the end of the phase. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll hit rolls of 1. Boom. Strong. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll wound rolls of 1. Boom. Strong. So basically, depending on what you're going to need more, depending on the or enemy that you're going into, or let's say one of your units may use dev wounds and you want to be getting more rerolls to fish for dev wounds, or one of your units has sustained hits, you want to have more rerolls going for sustained hits. This is a very flexible rule that's going to really buff up your Aspect Warriors and the Avatar of Cain, which is very cool. They go on to say that most of the detachment stratagems can be used across any of the aspect shrines or on the Avatar itself, making your force equally powerful whether you opt for a fast-moving contingent of Swooping Hawks, Shining Spears, Warp Spiders, or a powerful and resolute band of Fire Dragons, Dark Reapers, and Dire Avengers. Also, very, very cool. A pair of stratagems also provide alternate uses for the aspect shrine tokens supplied with each squad. This is an interesting little tidbit. They don't really go into too much detail about what this means, but there is going to be a aspect shrine token system that will have something to do with the way your aspect warriors operate. We don't know what that really means yet, but it means something, that's for sure. And what they're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to spend these aspect shrine tokens in order to buff up some of the stratagems, specifically in this detachment. Now, I don't know if these tokens are unique to this detachment or if they are going to be applicable to all of your aspect warriors in every detachment. I'm not sure the answer to that, but we can read these stratagems that they have here. One is going to be in their final breath. Fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One aspect warriors or Avatar of Cain unit from your army that was selected as a target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. It's going to be a 4-up fight on death, and if you choose to discard one of these nebulous aspect shrine tokens, it'll be on a 3-up. Which is interesting. Okay, so we have seen that these 4-up fight on death stratagems, they're always useful. The fact that you can buff it to a 3-up makes it significantly more useful. Then we have Preternatural Precision, and this could only be used in your shooting phase. You get to select one Aspect Warriors unit from your army. Note, this one does say only Aspect Warriors, so it can't be used on your Avatar of Cain that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Each time you use the stratagem, you could remove one aspect shrine token that your unit has. Once again, we don't really know what that means, but you could remove one of them. Then you get to select one of the following abilities, or you get to select 2 of the following abilities if you chose to remove an Aspect Shrine token. And the abilities are Ignore Cover, Lethal Hits, and Sustained Hits. This is very, very nice. Literally just being able to add lethal and sustained hits onto a unit just makes it a freaking powerhouse right off the bat. I'm kind of immediately thinking about how devastating will a unit of Dire Avengers be if you just give them sustained hits and lethal hits. This sounds very scary, and it's going to be able to buff up quite a bit of your army. So right out the bat, we have some pretty freaking cool stratagems that are coming with this detachment. Now, this is actually pretty cool. So they talk about the quartet of enhancements. Quartet meaning there's 4 enhancements, because there's always 4 enhancements on offer, are all picked up by Autox and Autoc Wayleapers, meaning it can only be used on your Autox and your Autoc Wayleapers. But they can also, your Autox and Autoc Wayleapers can now always lead any Aspect Warriors except Shining Spears and Crimson Hunters. That's cool. So I actually like that a lot. So now your Aspect Warriors can be led by your Autox, who canonically can have mastered every single aspect. Then we have the Aspect Host. This is just one of the enhancements. So Strategic Savant, Autoc, or Autoc Wayleaper model only. While the bearer is leading an Aspect Warriors unit, add 1 to the OC characteristic of models in that unit. So that's probably going to be, and that's likely going to be one of the less exciting enhancements. Still very useful though, but it's very cool to see that we're going to be having these Autocs leading our Aspect Warriors with enhancements that are specifically going to be buffing them. I like it quite a bit. All right, then they give us some information about the Seer Council. So this is actually going to be pretty cool. So the Seer Council is going to be the detachment that gets Fate Dice still. Now, Fate Dice are different. They're not what we thought they were going to be. It's not just going to be a repackaging of the old Fate Dice system. It's going to be a little different. So Strains of Fate finds a new home here as the detachment rule for the Seer Council. And while veteran players will be familiar with their pool of Fate Dice, they are used in an altogether different way here. Instead of manipulating dice rolls, they now grant your Farseers and Warlocks access to free stratagems decided by the results of your roll. This sounds quite interesting. At the start of your first battle round, you generate Fate Dice by rolling a number of d6 based on the battle size. Keep your Fate Dice to one side. This is your Fate Dice pool. So Strike Force, you're going to get 4 Fate Dice. Each time you use one of the stratagems opposite, if your Fate Dice pool contains 1 or more Fate Dice showing the corresponding values in the table below, you can discard 1 of those Fate Dice, and if you do, reduce the CP cost of that stratagem by 1 CP. So basically, 1 through 6, depending on what you roll, you can always just choose, hey, I'm going to use this Fate Dice, boom, and I am going to go ahead and just get a free stratagem. More or less free stratagem. This is actually a really cool way around like the CP restrictions that a lot of other armies have, because other armies you can only generate one bonus CP per round, which is very limited. However, now with Eldar, their ability to have Fate Dice, and I'm sure there will be mechanisms to generate more Fate Dice, there always are, you're going to have access to just, well, I assume it's not unlimited, but a greatly expanded pool of command points, in quotation marks, more or less, just so that you can really spam out these stratagems. I think that's a pretty cool way to do it. The random nature of your Fate Dice means you can never quite be sure what you'll get as you unleash in the battle, but every one of the 6 stratagems available is an immensely useful tool. All right, so let's read these 2 stratagems that they've given us, because it's going to give us some ideas about how the army's really going to be playing. For 1 CP in your movement phase, you could use the Unshrouded Truth. This is disgusting, by the way. Like, this is just freaking good. When your movement phase, target 1 Asuryani infantry unit from your army, excluding Wraith Construct units, thank goodness, that has not been selected to move this phase and is within 9 inches of 1 or more friendly Asuryani Psyker models. Not hard to fulfill the target requirements. Effect: remove your unit from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from all enemy models. Restrictions: till the end of the phase, your unit is not eligible to be selected to move. This is a unrestricted on your turn teleport on any infantry. Holy crap. That is a scary stratagem to be able to use just at will. Let's say you have, like, we don't know, but let's say Dire Avengers are terrifying or Dark Reapers are terrifying. You're just going to be able to turn one, boop, pop them wherever you want them to be. That is scary. It's going to be really hard to play around. I'm personally terrified of it, and I know all your Eldar players out there are freaking pumped, and they might be rocking a chubby. It's possible. Psychic Shield, 1 CP, when your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 Asuryani infantry unit from your army, excluding Wraith construct units, that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks and is within 9 inches of one or more friendly Asuryani Psyker models. Until the end of the phase, your unit can only be selected as the target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 18 inches. Okay, so this is just basically gives you a reactive super low or bad low knob, right? Very useful, especially in an army that's definitely going to have shooting options. So you're going to have shooting units that can expose themselves that really can't be fired back upon unless your opponent can move really quickly to get within range of them. It's interesting. I can see a lot of applications for both of these stratagems, and a lot of people are going to love these two. And I'm really excited to see what the other stratagems are. Now, they do go on to say there are enhancements such as the Lucid Eye enhancement that lets Psykers manipulate one result of every command phase to make sure your favorites. All right, if you want a tighter read on the Skeins of Fate, the Lucid Eye enhancement is an invaluable tool that lets a Psyker manipulate one of results every command phase to make sure your favorites are always available when you need them. Blah, blah, blah. Let's read it. So this is the Lucid Eye they give us. In your command phase, you can add 1 or subtract 1 from the value of 1 fate dice in your fate dice pool. So let's just scroll up here. Let's say you really want to be using the Unshrouded Truth, but you only have a 2, you don't have a 3. Well, with that enhancement, you can use your 2 as a 3. So there's a lot of flexibility in being able to use basically whatever stratagem you want for free. And then for Seer Council, the Torek of Morak High, an Asuryani Psyker model only, once per turn, when your opponent targets a unit from their army within 12 inches of a bearer with this stratagem, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, increase the CP cost of that usage of that stratagem by 1 CP. So it's kind of like a mini Vectora, still very darn useful. They go on to tell us that there's not long left until the codex hits the pre-order page, and you get brand new Phoenix Lords Aspect Warrior miniatures, which, by the way, those are awesome. I'm not a pointy-ear fan, but the new models are freaking sick, especially the new Warp Spider Primarch, the Warp Spider freaking Phoenix Lord, which is amazing. And they're also going to give us some new information tomorrow. And they're going to talk to us about the scions of Iniad and Seogorak tomorrow. So we're going to get talking about the Aeldari and the Harlequin tomorrow, which I'm pretty pumped up to go through. So basically, going through this right now, this is just the pre-information that we have. You're going to have great stratagems. You're going to have really interesting and cool and dynamic detachment rules. And I don't think Eldar players are going to be freaking let down. GW historically has never released a balanced Eldar codex. Once again, though, like, I think all these rules just sound cool. We will see. 10th edition has by far and away been the best edition for balance of 40k ever. Outside of on release, yes, I understand on release for 10th edition index, there was massive issues. But since the codex has been coming out, everything's actually been really, really good. And any issues, James Workshop has fixed really quickly. So basically, I'm just really looking forward to it. And I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be talking about some of the other things. And I also have a very spicy video for you that I'm not releasing today because I have an opponent in a scrim that I have to play that I don't want to give him a heads up on how I'm gonna beat them. So with that, I'm going to take off, and happy crumping, and I hope you guys have a great freaking day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.